I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, September 23rd, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Bruckman.
Present.
Councilmember Ross. Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Here. Councilmember Bloomberg. Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held September 9th, 2024 as amended?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the
Present.
minutes, present, thank you. The minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Bruckman.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. The warrant list is approved. We will now continue to the report of the mayor. At every city council meeting since October 7th, 2023, we've paused in solidarity with all who are held hostage in Gaza and their loved ones in Israel and around the world, and especially here in Highland Park. Nearly 1 year ago, I can't even believe it's been a year, we watched in horror as terrorists targeted innocent civilians of all ages. More than 1,000 people lost their lives in these attacks, the largest single-day death toll of Jewish people since the Holocaust. Hundreds were taken hostage, including multiple Americans, and more than 100 hostages are still being held captive in Gaza. In the years since, the American Jewish community and Jewish people around the world have experienced a sharp increase in hate-motivated anti-Semitic actions. In Highland Park, we monitor regional and national trends very carefully, and we remain in close communication with state and federal law enforcement. Last fall, Highland Park led a regional initiative of more than 30 neighboring municipalities condemning anti-Semitism and all acts of hate and reinforcing the importance of this collaborative approach to public safety. Through multi-jurisdictional exchange of information, joint training initiatives, and shared public safety dispatch services, we and our neighbors work proactively to remain vigilant and to promote public safety in our communities. As the 1 year mark approaches, Highland Park police officers will implement additional patrols and maintain a close watch on all houses of worship, and will continue to collaborate closely with neighboring communities and synagogues throughout the North Shore as the high holidays approach. In line with our values and statement against hate, Highland Park unequivocally condemns all anti-Semitic and hate-motivated acts. Hate has no home in Highland Park or anywhere in our nation. We will continue to keep alive the flame of hope for the safe return of all who are held hostage and share our unending support and sympathy for all who are in mourning. Before we continue with our business for this evening, I invite you to join us in a moment of reflection. Thank you. We have no appointments this evening. We have 2 proclamations this evening. I'll start with Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And unfortunately, we know that domestic violence impacts people of all races, genders, ages, and it's important that we as a community do all that we can to reduce the stigma surrounding domestic violence. The color purple honors those who are impacted by domestic violence, and I'll now share our proclamation. Whereas domestic violence is a pattern of control in an intimate relationship where one person uses coercion and/or violence to gain power and control over his or her partner. And whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that affects people of all races, ages, genders, and income levels, Highland Park residents are not immune. And whereas according to the Center for Disease Control, nearly 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will be a victim of domestic abuse at some point during their lifetime. And whereas too often children who grow up in violent homes have lifelong repercussions from the emotional and the physical trauma of experiencing or witnessing domestic violence. And whereas domestic violence costs the nation billions of dollars annually in medical expenses, police and court costs, shelters, foster care, sick leave, absenteeism, and non-productivity. And whereas a coordinated community effort will help put a stop to these crimes. And whereas it's important to recognize the subtle signs of domestic abuse, how to support someone in an abusive relationship, and find out where to get help if needed. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an opportunity for residents to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy, services, and assistance to victims. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month is represented by the color purple, like the Purple Heart Medal, the color is meant to be the symbol of peace, courage, survival, honor, and dedication to ending violence. So now, therefore, I, Nancy Rotering, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge residents to wear purple, but more importantly, to work together to eliminate domestic violence from our community. And we're so fortunate this evening to have a number of service providers joining us, representing several organizations serving community members experiencing domestic violence. We'd like to recognize the city's social workers, and if you're here, if you could stand. Amy Bricker, Police Department Social Worker, Madeline Cotty, Resiliency Manager, and Rachel Trebaris, Social Services Specialist at the Senior Center. In her capacity at the Police Department, Police Social Worker Bricker provides support services to community members and crime victims and liaises with the Lake County court system to assist with orders of protection, counseling, and other needs. Thank you. Based at City Hall, Resiliency Manager Cotty provides short-term counseling sessions and resource navigation assistance to individuals directly impacted by the Highland Park shooting. At the Highland Park Senior Center, Social Services Specialist Trebaris offers support services to Senior Center members and coordinates support groups and related programming. Thank you all for the important work and the essential care that you're providing to our community. It's my pleasure to introduce a number of professionals from partner agencies who are with us this evening to share how their organizations are working to assist community members experiencing domestic violence. And I will ask all of you to just come up together and share your comments. Christina Douglas with A Safe Place, J.C. Wolf with North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic, and Jessica Coleman with the National Council of Jewish Women, Chicago North Shore.
Hi, Christina Douglas. I'm the Chief Grant Officer at A Safe Place. We are an agency exclusively devoted to domestic violence and human trafficking services, prevention, and to try to eradicate domestic violence from Northern Illinois, actually. We've been in existence for 46 years. We have 17 locations across the county. We do have locations locally here. We do provide a continuum of care because we feel that, and we see that people don't typically need just one service. It's not just you call us on the crisis line and you come into our shelter. It's more than that. So we help sit down with you and talk through what your goals are and what you might need to be able to live a healthier life free from violence. And we have all kinds of services to help you do that. Plus, then we work with the abuser. We're one of the few agencies statewide that have both victim services and abuser services under the same umbrella. Obviously, we don't work with them together. These are separate, but we do that because we're trying to end domestic violence. And then we provide education and a lot of prevention programming, including here in the schools. For professionals, we work closely with the Highland Park Police Department, and we're happy to do so. So this is our continuum of care. I'm not going to read all this, but basically it's crisis intervention in all kinds of forms, even to the point of we have a crisis intervention team who goes out and meets with people wherever they are. And then post-crisis, we have like a menu of services that people can engage in, whether it be housing or therapy or, all kinds of supportive services, learning how to parent, that kind of thing. And then the intervention piece, post-separation is a really dangerous time for people. So we have ways that we can keep abuser and victim separate while still facilitating child visitation, at court-ordered child visitation, that is. And then we provide a whole lot of prevention services. Why bother? Because Mayor Rotering discussed earlier, the stats are pretty shocking. Domestic abuse is the leading cause of injury for women, more than anything else. Accidents, muggings, rape. and more than 3 women in the US die every day from domestic violence. We have had an uptick in domestic violence deaths in Lake County, actually, in the last 3 years. 10 million children witness it, but that seems like a really large number. Let me bring it down to Highland Park, Highwood level. So you know people who have experienced domestic violence. You may have experienced domestic violence yourself or in your family. 5,900 women in their lifetime in this town will experience it. Almost 2,500 men and 2,800 children will witness it. So it's an issue that hasn't gone away, and we're trying to eradicate this. We're working very hard to do so, but you can help by connecting people to us, connect people to other services, and we're here. Also, there are volunteer opportunities. Beyond connecting people to our services, you can help individually, as a group, volunteer with us. There are a number of ways. And then there are all kinds of ways involved: serve on our board, serve on committees, attend our events. There are all kinds of opportunities coming up, especially in the month of October. So I want to keep it brief and just say thank you, and we are here for you.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much, Mayor and council members. If we have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is JC Wolf, and I'm one of the domestic violence social workers at North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic. North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic provides accessible, quality, equitable, free legal services in the areas of housing, domestic violence, and immigration. I would love to start us off with a story that highlights our work and the importance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. One of our clients, a mother of 2, faced a very difficult situation when her then husband, grappling with substance abuse, threatened her life. Police intervention led her to seek an emergency order of protection. She then came to NSLAC needing help to secure a plenary order of protection to safeguard her and her children. Despite her abuser hiring a lawyer to oppose it, our dedicated attorney successfully obtained a 2-year order of protection. We also connected her with our social worker for housing support and provided guidance on her abuser's pending criminal case. Throughout every step, North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic supported her with empathy and expertise. Right now, people you know, people you'd least suspect are surviving domestic violence. The rates are just too high to assume otherwise. For survivors, there's no peace or sanctuary. Their abuser, whether a partner, parent, roommate, classmate, makes them feel small, unloved, and unsafe. The abuse is relentless, sometimes a slow burn, sometimes life-threatening. When domestic violence turns deadly, the whole community mourns. Domestic violence is everywhere, affecting all communities, regardless of location, socioeconomic status, religion, and ethnicity. In the United States, 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner every minute. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness about the nature of domestic violence, available services, and its impact on families and communities. Victim advocates, allies, survivors, and communities come together to mourn the lives lost to domestic violence. Awareness should be raised not just this month, but every day, because abuse occurs constantly. Domestic violence impacts everyone in the community. The more we discuss it, the more we bring this epidemic out of the shadows. As a reminder, domestic violence can include physical, verbal, emotional, and sexual behavior used to gain power and control over a person. Survivors may feel trapped due to financial dependence, self-blame, and lack of knowledge on how to escape. NSLAC offers a way out. Our trauma-informed attorneys, social workers, and staff provide confidential legal counsel, free representation, and compassionate support to help survivors achieve safety and independence. So, let's truly see each other and connect more and recognize our shared humanity. Survivors of domestic violence endure constant struggle in the most sacred spaces and need us to start by seeing them. Thank you for your support for recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month and for helping make our communities safer for all. Thank you.
Thanks. I have these for each of you if you could come. Thanks. Thank you both for joining us this evening. We encourage everyone to visit the city's website to learn more about these organizations and the important and discreet support services that they provide. At this time, I would like to invite Julie Logan, Finance Director, to the podium. This evening marks the last City Council meeting for Director Logan, who is retiring this week, even though I've threatened to hang on to her by her ankles. Julie has served the city with distinction for 10 years after a successful private sector career. And while we're sorry to see her leave Highland Park, we know that many adventures by land and by sea, or at least by lake, await her retirement. Julie, we're delighted to recognize your commitment to excellent, steadfast leadership and your dedication to our city, and we have a proclamation because we should. In recognition of Finance Director Julie Logan, whereas Julie Logan earned her Bachelor in Science and Accounting from the Geis, is that pronounced correctly? Geis College of Business at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and her Master's of Business Administration from the University of Chicago, as well as a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Interior Design from Harrington College of Design. And whereas Julie Logan's extensive background in finance has included various leadership positions in companies such as Focus Products Group International and Eckroth Planning Group. Julie Logan also served as Vice President of Finance for both Motorola and Echo brands. And whereas Julie Logan began as the city's finance director on September 15th, 2014, it just seems like yesterday, Julie. And whereas under Julie's leadership, the city continued to receive both the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for 40 years and the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association of the U.S. and Canada annual awards for 30 years, satisfying nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. And whereas Julie Logan transitioned the capital improvement plan from 5 years to 10 years, was the project sponsor of citywide ERP software implementation, served as treasurer for both the fire and police pension boards, and was instrumental in establishing the suburban insurance liability pool with 3 other communities, saving the city approximately 35% in insurance costs. And whereas under Julie Logan's tenure, the city has maintained its AAA bond rating, a testament to the city's sound financial planning and management. And whereas Julie Logan will retire on Friday, September 27th, 2024, she has earned and justly deserves this public recognition for her 10 years of dedicated and distinguished service, keeping fiscal stability as a core priority of the city and to our community. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, do hereby congratulate Finance Director Julie Logan on the occasion of her retirement and extend our appreciation to Julie for her many years of service and our very best wishes for her continued success in her life's pursuits. Bravo, Julie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. Would you mind if I said a couple of words?
Oh, we'd love to hear it.
Oh, thank you. First off, thank you, Mayor and City Council, for those kind words and for the opportunity to say a few words of my own. As you've said, I came to Highland Park after a successful 27-year career working as a global vice president for 2 multinational corporations. And I didn't know how to spell municipal government when I came here, and I certainly didn't know what GASB was, but I've never looked back. It's been an amazing experience working with the incredible City Council, the outstanding staff of this special city. I feel blessed that Highland Park is my last opportunity before retirement, and I have had the privilege of serving the city's remarkable residents for 10 years. I leave here as a better person because of my experience here and all the people that I've had the opportunity to interact with. It's important, though, for me as I head off into retirement to thank some people before I head off. First off, my family's here, and I would like to thank my husband, Brian, my stepchildren, Ren, Mackenzie, and Aaron, and their partners, my mom, my siblings and their families, for always supporting me and not complaining when I was always consumed with work. So thank you to my wonderful family for your love and support. I thank City Manager Newkirk for outstanding leadership, insight, and friendship. Geeta, somehow you managed to make every day a cheerful learning experience, and I appreciate that. Truly, I'm 63 and I've worked a really long time. You're the best boss that I've ever had. Thank you, Geeta, for believing in me and for your kindness and inspirational management. I thank my fellow city senior staff members and their department staffs, and the city's corporation council for passion, commitment, and faith in me to get the job done. Your willingness to laugh, evolve, participate, and team was really critical to guiding excellence in the city's financial management. You are all amazing. I could not have asked for a better peer group or better support staffs. I thank my outstanding finance and IT team for your contributions, intelligence, creativity, hard work, wit, team spirit, friendship, and willingness to push back when it was appropriate. Without your teamwork and camaraderie, we never would have pursued half of the things that came our way. You met every challenge boldly, methodically, and cheerfully, leaving me with a feeling of empowerment. You are all responsible for a big part of my success and for all of our success. I am confident that you will carry on great success in the city's financial and IT management. It's amazing to me the sharing of self in the municipal world. It's like nothing I have ever experienced before. Finally, I thank you, Mayor, and the City Council, both past and present, for incredible leadership, guidance, and sound decision-making. Collectively, you are making this great city greater than it is. You create an atmosphere for city staff like me to be successful and for residents to live in a thriving, lively, safe, sustainable, and fiscally sound community. In just 10 short years, you have all become my family, and I will miss each and every one of you. Thank you all for your camaraderie and for your friendship. I'm grateful to go into retirement with a clear mind and a healthy body. This city stands strong, and my best years are yet to come, and I hope to know you all long into my retirement. Thank you so much to everybody.
I would love that. Julie, we're so grateful to your many years of service to Highland Park and proud of all that we've achieved together. And thank you, Brian and family, for joining us for this special occasion. Looking forward to celebrating, hearing all of your joys and all of your adventures. And just on behalf of the council and those who were with us before this council, great appreciation to you for all that you've brought to the financial conversation. So thank you for everything. Thank you. Bye, guys. Thanks for the budget, Julie. Great job. A couple of other items. Every year on October 14th, we celebrate Sister Cities International Day. Highland Park's fortunate to have a strong relationship with our three sister cities, Modena, Italy, Yeroham, Israel, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We were delighted to have Highland Park Sister Cities Foundation Chair Carol Wolf join us at our last City Council meeting to provide an update on their activities, and we're grateful to Chair Wolf and to all of the Highland Park Sister City Foundation volunteers for their work in developing really valuable intercultural programs between Highland Park and our sister cities. And with that, Our next item is business from the council. And so I'll just share with you that the city has 18 advisory groups, boards, commissions, all composed of 100+ dedicated volunteers. Over the next few weeks, we'll be welcoming the chairs of these groups to provide reports of their work. And tonight, we'd love to welcome the president of the Highland Park Public Library Board of Trustees, Rob Olean, to provide an update. Welcome, Rob.
I just would like the record to reflect that the library, too, is very grateful for Julie's assistance through the years. She's been a wonderful friend and advisor to us, and I know Heidi specifically wanted me to extend her wishes as well.
Great, thank you.
So with that, we were here a month ago and discussed our budget and our general mission, so I won't rehash any of those sort of details tonight. Happy to answer any questions, of course. But I thought instead I'd just focus on three major themes that seem to really take up most of the board's time, and it's sort of what we are focusing on now. One is sort of the kind of where we're coming out of COVID and people now working from home and what that means for the library. And we're seeing three things really. One, just a strong need for the small meeting rooms that we have. We have 8 rooms now. They're often impossible to get because a lot of people who are now working from home go to use those rooms either just to work or to conduct their phone calls or whatever it might be. They also require a lot of technical assistance, and we have sort of tuned ourselves to deal with that. They need help doing their virtual meetings. People need help doing PowerPoint presentations that they can share with others over the screens. And so we are trying to help with that. And then the third thing we've seen is during COVID, of course, when people weren't coming together and for a while after, all the local libraries started doing virtual programming. Instead of having the speaker come to talk about their new book at a place, it was all done online. That has advantages and disadvantages. We get to share the cost of that with a bunch of other libraries, so we can save money on that front. On the other hand, it's not as, it was nice having Caroline Kennedy and 300 people all crammed into a bunch of books in the main reading room back when we could do that. But the trend seems to be toward these virtual things. I think authors decided it's a lot easier than a full-blown book tour. And so we continue to sort of think about how we need to orient our programming, both with respect to the book tour kind of thing and others, dealing with other libraries and doing all that virtually. The second major theme is the evolution of libraries. It's not just about books anymore. It hasn't been about just books for a long time, but library of things is something now where libraries have ukuleles, sewing machines, 3D printers, all sorts of other things that people want to come in and use and make, and that will certainly be part of what we're addressing with the expansion project, the makerspace that we'll have there. Second, a lot of programming and classes. Library U has been a big hit through the years. Some of those classes get oversubscribed. We get a lot of requests for classes that we don't yet offer, don't have room, time to offer. So again, that's something we're looking at. And then to something that was mentioned earlier, we now have a social services coordinator. We don't provide counseling at the library, but the coordinator is in touch with all of the people and agencies in our community who do that kind of counseling. And when people come into the library and ask, she's able to direct them to the right place in a way that the reference librarians just really couldn't manage to stay on top of. And we get anywhere from 10 to 20 people a month coming in and using that service. And this is something that we just started about 1.5 years ago. And I don't know if you describe a need for social services as a success, but it's been we're glad we have it, let's put it that way. And then third, and certainly not last or least in terms of importance, is the expansion project itself. I'm happy to say that we're on track so far for being able to go out to bids in January. We expect to get more people bidding and thus a better price we're told, in January than we would get if we went out later in the year. And so it's been sort of full speed ahead for the last several months to try to get that done. In connection with the expansion, we have deferred our strategic planning process. Normally, we would have been preparing our next 5-year plan this year. We have instead decided to do a 2-year bridging plan to tide us over during the expansion, and we will resume the full-blown strategic planning once the expansion is done. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense to pretend as though it's going to be business as usual for the next 2 years. And so the planning process has been designed to accommodate that. We have the staff spending a lot of time figuring out how they're going to operate if and when their particular section has to kind of diminish itself during the expansion, how we're going to deal with the phasing of the various parts of the building as the expansion happens. And so rather than, we kind of need to get tactical for the next couple of years, and so that's what we're doing on that front. We formed a development committee for the first time, to my knowledge, in the library's history. We'll be going out with a capital campaign early next year, and really don't have any great sense of how that's going to do. There are some libraries in other cities that have been very successful with that. Others kind of meet with, I pay my taxes, why should I give you money also? But we're hoping we have enough success at least that we have a cushion in case the bids come in a little higher than we hope next year, or ideally we can buy some extra ukuleles or whatever it is we need for the library of things. But that's well underway, and we'll give it our best shot there. A couple of us have been spending, including Heidi and then Carol, the other Carol Wolf, as she calls herself, have been spending a lot of time meeting with people who've raised concerns about the project. And the largest one at this point seems to be the loss of some of the grass area to the west of the library, the green space. When we meet with those people, we tell them that we have considered this, we've reconsidered this. I think you probably all heard the engineering mantra, you can do it, you can have 2 out of 3 of better, faster, and cheaper. I think we're a little less glib than that. There are a number of things that we have taken into consideration: the capital cost of the project, the operating costs that will incur once the expansion is done, the time it will take to do the project, and of course the green space. And then importantly, and it's sort of a soft thing, is just how the library is going to function in the new space. And we think what we've come up with is the thing that best optimizes across all of those considerations. And we hear that people want us to move to the east or think about moving to the east. We've thought about that. It would mean a much larger expansion, for one thing, because we would not be able to take advantage of the current youth services area and then add on to that. We would have to move all of youth services to the new expansion to the east. And we're giving up some grass to the west, but we're gaining a park now to the east. And I don't think that should be underemphasized. That is something that will be useful for library programming, we think. If the Place of Remembrance ends up being located back here instead of at Port Clinton, it would be nice to have a nice quiet park there as well. And a couple of you, I think, Councilmember Bloomberg and the mayor, I don't know that anybody else was on the council last time when we actually thought about going east, and that was not without controversy, you'll remember. Those people, I think, were both more numerous and vociferous about what the encroachment of a building into the residential neighborhood would mean. So I just want to assure all of you that we have thought about all of this. I recognize that people may come to a different conclusion, but we were given a bond budget of $4 million from the city. Going to the east would add another $4 million to the project, and nobody has yet given us any indication of where that money could or would come from. So we, given the constraints that we are operating under, the plan we have seems to be the best way to go. I think what you don't get the benefit of that we do is all the comments of people who are coming into the library, looking at the boards that have the plans and are very excited about the project. People who are happy about things tend not to write letters to their council people. But we've heard from many parents and grandparents who take their children or grandchildren not only to our library, but to other libraries. And they're delighted that we're finally going to be approaching the standard that our neighbors like Deerfield and Glenview and Skokie have set with respect to children's programming. I'll stop there.
Well, thank you very much for the report, and I know Councilmember Stone has something she'd like to add.
Yeah, I'm the liaison to the library board, and I've just been really impressed with how thoughtful and deliberate the board has been and the expertise that all of you bring. There's just a very big range of expertise on that library board right now, and it's been a really good group to witness working together to come up with the best solutions for the expansion and other issues that have come to the library. So thank you for all of your work.
And I'll just add my thanks and appreciation to you and to the Board of Trustees and to the library staff. You've done so much work to provide open access to books and to materials and to resources for our community. Very thoughtful programming, great entertainment. It really is a hub of activity, and we're just grateful for all the care and thought that you bring to everything that's happening there. I've been asked to tell the public, if you don't have a library card, it's National Library Card Sign-Up Month, and your library card is free, and some will argue it's the most valuable card in your wallet, so visit hplibrary.org to get started. And don't know if you have anything you'd like to add?
No, other than we have a job for Julie. We're entering the interior design phase of the library now, and I didn't know she had that expertise, and I'm semi-colorblind, so she's welcome to have my seat at the table if she'd like.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us this evening. Wonderful. Any other business from the council? Nope. Okay. City Manager Newkirk, will you provide the staff report?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few reports. We can go to the next slide. I want to give a quick update on construction throughout the community. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to go throughout the downtown district, do a lot of shopping, support our local businesses, not only downtown, but throughout Highland Park. Specifically as it pertains to 2nd Street, 2nd Street is substantially complete. As you can see by the pictures there, we have widening of the sidewalk on the east side with brick pavers to match the west side. We have a number of bump outs that are going to provide for outdoor dining. That initiative is going to be presented. We're working with the businesses to start that outdoor dining in the spring of next year, unless businesses such as Michael's currently has outdoor dining. Their tables are already out. We've improved ADA access. We improved the storm sewer along 2nd Street. We have planting that has already begun, and bollards are going to be installed in October, and new light poles and lights will be installed by the end of November. But we're going through right now and working on punch list items towards completion of this project this year. We are planning a grand reopening of 2nd Street, as noted there, on Saturday, November 2nd from 3 to 5. So stay tuned for information in the e-news and on our website about exciting activities that will take place as part of that celebration. And then also, we have undertaken resurfacing of all the streets in the downtown district. This contract that was approved by the mayor and council did provide for overnight work for public safety purposes and also to minimize the impact on the significant pedestrian activity that takes place during the day. So we've got new crosswalks, improved traffic signal areas, and so substantial investment in the downtown, and it really looks beautiful, and we're getting wonderful feedback about all the changes. And then just a special appreciation to Public Works Director Ron Bannon, and then Ashley Pelbitska has also been serving as one of the key project leads and helping with communication with all the businesses. And then, of course, Amanda Bennett, our communications manager as well. And if we go to the next slide. So if people want to scan this QR code from their smartphones, it takes you to a landing page on the city's website where you can get updates about the $34 million of infrastructure investment that's taking place throughout the community. So we break out projects based on the type of project. We give regular updates. So this website is updated on a regular basis, and you can get all the information about projects taking place throughout the community. Wanted to also provide an update about 1201 Park Avenue. So as certainly the council knows, we are undertaking a renovation of this property that was previously called the Highland Park Country Club. It is used for senior center operations for the city, as well as events and banquet services. And then our government partners, the Park District, operate the Rec Center, which is operated by the Park District of Highland Park, a separate government entity. So as it pertains to our property, this renovation project is substantially complete. We actually had on the main level where the banquet services are, our first wedding took place this past Saturday, and so you can see pictures there of what the grand ballroom looked like. We had people walking into the ballroom and saying, you know, I had my bar and bat mitzvah 40 years ago, and these are the same chandeliers, and so those chandeliers are gone. So new lighting, new carpet, new painting, and so significant improvements. So it's exciting to see that property transform to better serve our seniors, as well as the general public that can use it for events and banquets. And so on the top is the wedding that took place outside at the Preserve, which is Park District property. And then inside they had their beautiful wedding celebration. There's one fireplace. We removed one fireplace and left one there. And then they put some candles in there for ambiance. And then you can see the entryway area to that main ballroom, which is still from the south side of the building. If people are interested in looking at event services there, the website Highland Park Country Club will take you to the Catering by Michael's webpage, where individuals can work with them for events and banquet services. And we'll be updating our website once the Senior Center is completely done as well, with the new web link as well. And then on the omnibus agenda, we have 11 items for the council's consideration. Just want to provide highlights of 2 of them. What's pictured there pertains to item number 5. This is the railing for the Laurel Avenue underpass. We have had this project on our list for a couple of years, just figuring out when we can time it, given the cost consideration. We've had damage to that railing based on truck activity, where they want to go under the viaduct and they realize that the truck is too tall, so they try to back out and they end up hitting the railing. So it is significantly damaged, and it has to meet a number of different standards, just given the grade changes that take place there. But it is planned to be replaced in pretty much the same form as it is now, although with more structural integrity. But it'll be a black railing, just as pictured there on that graphic. And then the other item I just wanted to highlight is item number 1, that pertains to the proposed meeting schedule for City Council and Committee of the Whole meetings. And so they are all noted in the staff report. If we do have any new meetings, those are posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as special meetings. And if we need to change any meetings, we will certainly post notice as far as possible in advance, but certainly in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, and those would be considered rescheduled regular meetings. But everything on Omnibus includes a detailed staff report and is recommended for approval.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If you could please introduce the next item on our agenda, City Manager, that'd be great.
Be happy to. So the next item is business from the public. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you'd like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the omnibus or consent agenda, please let us know if you'd like us to remove that matter from the consolidated list so that you can speak about it. Please be aware that business from the public is not intended to be a forum for open dialogue or engagement with members of the City Council. Rather, it is intended as an opportunity to make comments to the City Council. Please do not expect a response from anyone tonight. If appropriate, questions may be directed to me as the city manager or other city staff. All comments should be directed to the City Council. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We request that speakers refrain from throwing objects or using noisemakers, and the public not applaud or make other comments after any speaker. We ask that everyone be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Carl Lambrecht. I want to talk about a meeting that I had recently with the retired teachers of Lake County. They gave me a report about the different schools, and I was surprised to see that Deerfield High School was separated from Highland Park High School, even though they're the same district. Deerfield High School, the SAT attainment was for reading was 71%. Maths was 67%. Graduation rate, 96%. Highland Park High School, graduate SAT was for reading was 56%, considerable reduction. For math, it was 50%, and graduation rate nearly the same, 95%. Now, Highland Park and Deerfield cost per student, according to this, is $19,902, nearly $20,000. Barrington High School spends $12,026 per student, and their reading is 51%, in contrast to Highland Park, 56%, nearly the same. And their math is 56%, and their graduation was identically the same as Highland Park High School. The biggest cost areas in the community are schools. I think I have a granddaughter who went through the AP classes. When she went to the University of Illinois, she started as a freshman, and within a month, she was a sophomore, simply because she had so many AP classes in Highland Park High School, meaning she had an excellent education. Somehow, some people are not doing the same. And what I really want to point out, I spoke to other teachers, and they had ideas, but time doesn't permit me to say much more than what I have just said. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to share comments from the public?
Hi, my name is Marla Portman. Suppose you receive a letter from the city proposing a sidewalk on your street. You realize that our city has home rule and therefore city council can do whatever they want. However, you just want to live in your house in peace. You bought your home and invested time and money making your home your home. You liked the fact that there were no sidewalks when you bought it. You love being in an environment with many older, beautiful trees. Once these trees were gone, they're gone forever. How could this happen? Who would have thought this could even be possible? Home rule shouldn't mean ruling over our homes. How would you feel? I know you wouldn't be happy if the city proposed changing the nature of the neighborhood you thought you would be living in for many years to come. This sidewalk initiative should never have been proposed or put into Move HP. The city's website states how much it values the environment. Don't you realize the immense hypocrisy of this sidewalk proposal? I believe the city should only propose things that cause no harm to its citizens. This initiative should have been extremely important and utterly necessary before bringing it up at all. A change like this should have to meet a high bar. This is a sidewalk to nowhere for no good reason. As you know, HP's core principles are fiscal stability, public safety, i.e. fire and police, infrastructure investment, i.e. water, sewer, and roads, and community vibrancy. The sidewalk initiative has nothing to do with any of these core principles. We pay our taxes and vote for council members to represent us, not alter our neighborhoods for no good reason. And our taxes should be used very carefully on important matters, not to pursue an agenda which many citizens don't support. This initiative has caused problems between neighbors for 7 years. You have offered them something that should never have been offered and something that should have had a large majority buy-in, 75% or more, prior to getting to this point. Lowering that buy-in to 51% causes even more divisiveness, as half of the neighbors could be upset. A large group of citizens on University and Oldham have voiced their displeasure with this initiative for a year by coming to City Council and TAG meetings and sending letters to the City Council to voice their feelings and reasons for not wanting this initiative to go forward. I don't have to repeat these reasons. Your staff has noted their concerns as well. Remember that this is our neighborhood and our homes and our lives, not yours, that you're playing with. Your names will be remembered if our trees are taken down and others die later. This will be your legacy. I hope you do the right thing for your citizens and stop this now, and please don't repeat this in other neighborhoods without thorough research and serious consideration beforehand. As final witness of what the results will be after taking down trees, I am going to be giving you each a copy of the Dr. Seuss book. Read it yourself and read it to your children and grandchildren. You will see how devastating tree loss is to our ecosystem. And remember this message several weeks from now when you make your decision. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Please say one for me.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? If you are, please come to the podium.
I'm with her, and I agree with what she says.
Okay.
Smart man.
Thank you.
Mark Portman, University Avenue. 2 weeks ago, the Committee of the Whole considered 2 agenda items. Number 1, a discussion of damage to trees throughout the city's neighborhood on the city's right-of-way from residents installing swings and other devices in such a way as to permanently damage those trees. Number 2, discussion of a plan for trees in the city's central business district. Not until I recently viewed the video of that meeting did I realize how important those 2 topics were to the committee. Each topic consumed over 35 minutes, totaling over 1 hour of your valuable time. During that time, members were attentive, passionate, and you engaged in spirited discussions. I was genuinely pleased that members came to the defense of the trees in the right-of-way. And I was likewise surprised that members' passionate desire for an improved tree plan in our central business districts. So kudos to you. I noted the following comments, and these are quotes. Putting something on a tree could harm the tree. We're a tree city. We have a robust tree canopy, and we were one of the first communities to have a tree ordinance which prohibits trees from taking down trees without a license or a permit. These trees add to the beauty of Highland Park and they provide environmental benefits. I think we can't be doing things that are harming the trees, and those were quotes. I could not agree more with those comments, and so I say thank you for those statements. However, I must ask the obvious questions. How can you passionately argue against the needless destruction of trees and realize the enormous benefits of those trees, as you did 2 weeks ago, while you simultaneously push a sidewalk initiative that will produce the exact result which you are seeking to avoid? This sidewalk proposal is the very definition of hypocrisy. And why the hypocrisy? Are those trees on University and Old Trail somehow not as valuable as trees elsewhere in Highland Park? Or are the residents of University and Old Trail not as favored as residents in other neighborhoods to our south? We are the north end. And for those who think, well, this is different, suggesting that that area, my area, needs a more connected sidewalk system, or that area, my area, is unsafe, enough already. Both of those arguments have been debunked over and over again. Alternatives 1, 2, and 3 have already been rejected, with your staff saying we have reservations about advancing construction of a sidewalk on either side of University Avenue. Now TAG has been given another opportunity. Alternative 4 will be presented by TAG at its quarterly meeting this Wednesday. Since Alternative 4 was only made public earlier today, I'll reserve commenting on it, except to say that we already have serious fundamental concerns, too lengthy to address at this time. Regardless, we'll reach out to Gita early tomorrow to discuss our concerns. So for now, I'll close by saying, end this madness now, reject this proposal.
Thank you. Well done, well done.
Right on time.
You
Thank
got
you.
it. Thank you.
I do have a procedural question. If I've got a question about something that's on one of the omnibus, should I just raise my hand at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Alice Herman Temkin. I live at 3195 University Avenue, and I've been here for almost 30 years. Many of my neighbors have already spoken about their opposition to the proposed sidewalk on University and have expressed their outrage at how this sidewalk would result in the destruction of so many beautiful trees. All I can say, in addition to their eloquent speeches, is to tell you my own story. My late husband had already owned our home for 20 years before he and I were married. When I was bringing my belongings into the house, the first thing he said to me is, "Don't ever put anything directly on the basement floor," because he had been dealing with basement flooding for over 20 years. Since then, over the last 30 years, he and I spent thousands of dollars on sump pumps, backup pumps, and landscaping to try to ameliorate the problem, but nothing has eliminated the problem. To this day, every time there is a rainstorm, I hold my breath as I descend the stairs to the basement, praying that this time there won't be any water on the floor. And if I should go out of town, I have to ask someone to come and check the basement every time it rains. Over the years, I have vacuumed up countless gallons of water and then had to lift the heavy metal vacuum into the laundry tub to empty it. I have mopped and disinfected the basement floor endless times, and there are times when my backyard looks like a swimming pool. When I first started doing this cleanup work 30 years ago, I was 50 years old. I'm now almost 80. And as you can imagine, this is getting harder and harder for me to cope with. We all know that trees help reduce flooding, and that destroying these beautiful trees on University Avenue will only exacerbate the flooding. And so I am pleading with you, please, please do not approve this project. In addition to worsening the flooding problem, the sidewalk would be detrimental to environmental conservation and an insult to the idea of trees as a symbol of Highland Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Please come forward. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Fox. I live at 3279 University Avenue. I've been there for 37 years. I'm opposed to the sidewalks on University Avenue. There already exists a sidewalk on Summit that goes all the way from Half Day Road to Old Elm. It's only a half a block away. The sidewalk will result in the removal of trees, take away from the bucolic beauty of our neighborhood, negatively impact our property values, and negatively impact the owner's responsibility to maintain sidewalks free of debris, ice, and snow. It will increase the amount of dangerous and high-speed bike traffic going down the 4 blocks of University Avenue. I have personally witnessed this several times because I'm a walker. In addition, or in summary rather, the benefit is only for the non-property, non-resident bikers and not for the local homeowners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
Thank you, Mayor and Congressman and Congresswoman, for your time. I'm going to start off by saying,
Please state your name for the record.
I'm sorry, David Kenneth,
Thank you.
resident on University Avenue, and I'm opposed to the sidewalk proposal. To put it bluntly, you're trying to force a square peg in a round hole. It's that simple. Proposal 1, Proposal 2, Proposal 3, Proposal 4. Let's try to force a sidewalk by eliminating a whole bunch of trees, over 100 to begin with. Oh, then we're going to reduce that number. then we're going to reduce that number even further. First tree count on proposal 3 is completely wrong, and I can walk anyone down that road and show them where it's completely wrong. I'm going to argue that proposal 4 is also going to be wrong because they're starting with proposal 3 and saying we're going to reduce another 13, all right? It's not meandering. It's putting a sidewalk to avoid the perception that we're tearing down trees. The trees that are going to be removed to put the sidewalk in is just one aspect of it. The trees are going to die after the fact are also just going to be gone. But it's not about safety, but it's also about the appearance to the public that the city council cares about the trees. Now we're basically not meandering, we're basically forcing the sidewalks that I just said. So you're going right up against the curb for half of the street. You're then basically taking 20 to 25 feet of the homeowner's property and going behind the trees and putting the sidewalk in to basically say, oh, we're not going to take those trees down. My property and at least 7 others to 12 other properties on the street, they're going to basically take, I'm going to call it eminent domain. The city is calling it, I'll call it easement of 43 feet from the curb, and it might be 43 feet from the center of the street, but 43 as a temporary easement. I only have about 75 feet frontage for basically rebuilding the slope to put the sidewalk in. Now, if it's, let's take it on the 7 residents versus 12, okay, whatever it is, but you're still going to lose a significant amount of trees. You're still going to basically, in some cases, and I haven't looked at it because I just looked at the proposal today, you're basically, in some cases, may take 50%, the sidewalk goes 50% through the front yard of the homeowner. Thank you. I would end this statement with, take the money that is being spent on this proposal for the last 5 years, including the construction if you decide to go through with it, give it to the library. It will have a larger impact on more people over the longer run than the 20 or 30 people that walk down the street back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Please come forward. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Lamberty. I've lived on University for 28 years, and to the best of my knowledge, installing sidewalks in an established neighborhood where trees were part of the original design has never been done in Highland Park. If approved, I'm really concerned about the precedent this will set for the rest of our city. I strongly oppose going forward with this project.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
Hello, my name is Tom Hiller, and I live at 818 Hill Street. We have read Alternative 4 and continue to express our opposition to a sidewalk on University and Old Trail. Previously, IDOT required 6 feet for a sidewalk that is 0 feet from the curb. Now we have a sidewalk next to the curb that is 5 feet wide. So a question would be, is there an actual requirement from IDOT applicable to University and Old Trail? Further, Alternative 3 with a 6-foot sidewalk next to a curb for tree number 60, which is approximately 180 years old, would have to be removed due to severe damage. But an Alternative 4 with a 5-foot sidewalk next to the curb, that same 180-year-old tree does not have to be removed. It merely needs root pruning. I mean, just in terms of believability, to see something that big and see a sidewalk that's a difference of 1 foot wide, implying the tree's going to be removed or not, is actually, it's actually difficult to swallow. Another thing is, I actually don't have a lot of experience in sidewalks. So I ran some searches on the Federal Highway Administration because it gets referenced in complete streets. They reference a border width from the curb to the sidewalk, a minimum of 5 feet, preferably 10 feet, wherever practical, 12 feet. So we then go over and look at Summit and Kren, which was designed for a sidewalk. It has 12 feet, okay? And Kren and Summit are wider than University and Old Trail. So when you come back and then look at a 5 or 6 foot wide sidewalk sitting on the curb for 75% of the distance on one side of the street, and look at the number of trees, it looks strictly subpar, okay? So I then come back to a point that I've raised before. Kren and Summit have 2 stop signs. Dado has 1 stop sign. University and Old Trail have the same geometry as Dado and Summit, and yet it has 0 stop signs. The symmetry of the geometry is as obvious as the asymmetry in the number of stop signs. There is no reason to single out University Avenue and Old Trail to have no stop signs and a sidewalk when the street does not have a geometry for a sidewalk and results in vast damage to trees, notwithstanding the adjoining streets in the same subdivision have stop signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from the public wishing to be heard?
Levi Kane. Welcome back to another episode of what some are calling the Den of Thieves. The mayor and the city manager shot down my first attempt at adding 5% to the city's annual budget. They said, wow, thank you for taking the time to put that together, but a sales tax cannot be allocated for the schools. Sorry. Nancy says that it is state law that funding for schools has to come from a property tax. I'm not a lawyer, so I didn't know that. So I did some research, and I learned that the money for education can actually come from the general fund of an amusement tax. So I'm back with Plan B, the Budget Enhancement and Community Optimization Network Plan, better known as the Beacon. We're going to keep the carbon emissions tax because who doesn't want environmental stability, right? And we're going to keep the naming rights section because these entities would be benefiting off the name that we pay our taxes to. But then we're going to increase the amusement tax to model after the city of Chicago at 12%, adding on average about 5.25% to the annual budget. 5.25%. So then for the last section, section 4, we would be allocating 5% from the general fund of the amusement tax to fund the mayor's new salary. Now you might think that I'm crazy for wanting to increase Nancy's pay from $13,000 to $160,000 a year, but why not give her a shot? The way that I see it is that we're only getting exactly what we're paying for. And you can only be so mad at somebody for doing a bad job at something that is essentially volunteer work. However, if we're offering a competitive salary, then we'd be able to attract some real talent, like this guy. And if they suck, like possibly this guy, then we can always vote them out because finding a new candidate wouldn't be so arduous. Or Nancy could stay up there. Let those who relish votes on mundane matters wield their gavels. But this, make no mistake, this is no mundane matter. The stakes are high and the vision is clear, and the beacon is lit. It's time we rise to the occasion, not for me, but for the people. Details for the beacon can be found in the description below at amendahp.com/plan. Now don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe. I yield the rest of my time to Kim Stone to give her stance on the emissions section of my proposed revenue plan. Kim Stone, please. Do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Are you for the environment?
You know,
Are you for the emission? I mean, this is modeled after the esteemed country of Sweden. You must be for environmental sustainability, excuse me, right?
I cannot say in 25 seconds what
are you for environmental sustainability or not? Yes or no? It's a very simple question, Ms. Stone. Councilmember Stone,
Actually,
please.
the way this works is you talk to us, and we appreciate your input. Thank you for
Appreciate you.
joining us
Love
this
you.
evening.
See you next time.
Don't forget your little chair and your little table.
It's a table
Right.
for the Den of Thieves.
One was a
Thank you.
chair and one was a table. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Hearing none, we'll continue on with our scheduled business. Items 1 through 11 are grouped together for omnibus consideration. Mr. Portman, you wanted to say something about one of those items?
Yeah, number 10, should I put the podium?
Yeah.
The fire engine?
Yeah, of course.
I'll read what the item is so people know what the context is. So item 10 is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a replacement fire engine through the joint purchasing program of the Houston-Galveston Area Council from Pierce Manufacturing of Appleton, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $1,262,551.
Thank you. So my question is, are we, and by the way, I'm all for adding to our fleet where it's necessary and appropriate. I'm just curious, are we adding to the fleet, or is this a replacement for an existing truck?
It was a replacement.
Chief, would you like to answer? Either one of you can follow up.
It is a replacement.
Okay.
That's the short answer.
That's okay, Chief, I'm cool with that. So it's for a replacement. So then, if it's a replacement, then I assume that means the existing truck is going to be traded in, or is it?
In reserve, so
Oh,
we
kept in
have-
reserve, okay.
In the request for council action, there's
Okay.
a narrative that talks about the lifespan of fire equipment and how long it's kept in active use, and then how it's put into reserve use.
Okay, so that's okay. I get the point that it's going to be in reserve. Just two more questions. Is it budgeted for 2024, or is this for 2025?
I believe it's budgeted for, Chief, you want to jump in?
Okay, now, so that's kind of where I'm going on this whole
You
thing.
need to come forward and speak at the podium. Thank you.
It's a pre-order.
So
it's a
Well,
pre-order.
that's where I'm going. So
Yeah, it's 'cause it's a
gonna be
custom thing.
pre-order,
Right,
from what I understand.
and there's a long
Right.
timeline.
So there's accounting way to do it. It's budgeted for 2027. It can be paid for from a prepay account and then later actually be accounted for in the year that we receive.
Okay, so if we do that, because there's a long delivery time, 3 years, so it'll be received in 2027, then does it make sense to go with I guess I'm just curious about the prepay option, because the prepay option, you get something like a 10%, if I understand, discount, but you have to prepay it, so you're not taking delivery until 2027, so you're going to be using the funds in 2024 for 2025, 6, and 7. Have you considered just not taking the prepaid discount and just investing the funds on your own and then just paying for it full price? That was my only question.
We also risk not being able to have the equipment just because.
But you still have the order. You're saying the order may get delayed even though they tell you it's 2027, but if you prepay, are you guaranteed to get it delivered in 2027?
Or there could be delays, but we get in the queue at that point.
And
So
we've
we've
seen
been
that happen with an ambulance in fairly recent past.
Okay, but for $1,200,000, it's not cheap. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely.
I
We
get
recognize
that.
that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for letting me speak.
And since you've raised the question, I'll share with you, every year we have the third graders come through and do mock city council meetings. And one of the questions that I ask them is, you have this amount of money. Do you spend it on road salt for half the price, or do you spend it on a fire engine? And I let them debate it. So you're welcome to come. We start in May. Nothing beats hanging out with the third graders of Highland Park as they debate public finance. It's all good. Thank you. Any other questions on any of the omnibus items? Seeing none, I'm seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 11.
So moved.
Any conversation or questions from the council? Councilmember Stone?
I've got one comment. I will be voting present on item 10, the fire engine. We did look into buying an electric fire engine as well. It was a lot more expensive. I do not want to vote to purchase any more fossil fuel vehicles. I've stated that several times when we've purchased other vehicles, but I understand the financial impact of the electric fire engine, so I'll be voting present on this item.
Thank you. With that, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Brockman? Aye. Councilmember Tapia?
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stone?
Yes on 1 through 9 and 11, and present on 10, please.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
Aye.
Mayor Rotering?
Aye. 6 ayes, no nays on items 1 through 9 and item 11. 5 yays, 1 present, no nays on item 10. Item 12 is an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 119 of the Highland Park Code of 1968 as amended regarding self-serve liquor licenses. Do we want to take these two in omnibus? Can we do that? And item 13 is a resolution amending the annual fee resolution concerning liquor license fees.
Would you like me to introduce?
Sure.
And I can do both of them at the same time, if
That'd be
that's
great.
okay.
Thank you.
So certainly, as the council will recall, in 2023, as part of our major project work plan, we undertook an evaluation of Chapter 119, which is, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second here. Chapter 119 of the Highland Park City Code regarding liquor licenses. Specifically, we looked at hours of operation, cocktails to go, keg regulations, revised classifications, and new classifications. So a number of changes were brought forward and approved by the City Council in April of this year. Part of the changes pertained to a new classification for liquor at recreational facilities, and that was to accommodate 2 potential businesses that were coming in that were looking specifically for a liquor license that would serve their needs. And based on the research that we had conducted with other municipalities, as well as based on feedback from the City Council, those changes were approved. One of the businesses, and they are with us here this evening, Dinks, which is currently under renovation, and they'll describe their proposed business plan. In looking at the liquor regulations, we had found that specifically all servers had to be Bassett trained. But under their proposed business plan, where there is a self-pour wall, technically servers would not be Bassett trained because they would be the customers. But there is a very thorough review and a management process set in place that would ensure people are not overserved, that people are properly use their identification to access liquor, as well as access various areas of the liquor dispensing area. We did research other municipalities that have these self-pour walls. There are 3 in our immediate area. We talked to their staff. They have not experienced any concerns or challenges or violations of liquor regulations in those municipalities. And we have a detailed staff report in the packet for your consideration. David Sloan has his team that with the mayor and council support, they can introduce their proposed business plan and talk specifically about how they would go about managing their proposed business. But very important is this chapter would pertain to any self-serve liquor license. And so if it is approved by the City Council, and we are recommending approval, it would amend the city code to provide for this type of liquor classification. If there's another business that interested in the self-pour concept, then they would just have to meet the terms and conditions set forth in the ordinance, and we'd work with them for a local license as well as a state license accordingly. The second ordinance on the agenda is the associated fee resolution. We're just recommending the associated fee to correspond to this proposed license.
Great, thank you. Mr. Sloan, do you want to come talk to the council a little bit about your project?
Emily, there's a PowerPoint.
Awesome. First of all, thank you. Appreciate your time tonight. Trying to make the most of our time together. My name is David Sloan. I'm the founder and managing partner of Dinks Social Club, which is the business that we're talking about. We are an indoor pickleball and golf simulator facility, hopefully opening in January. That's the plan. I've got some members of our team here as well. Got our lead designer, Christine Bacalar, who happens to be my mother-in-law as well. My father-in-law, John, in the back. My wife, Brooke, who is one of my partners, and our 2 daughters who are going to be working there because this thing's expensive to put together. So a little bit about our concept. We've got a rendering up on the screen. We are taking over the space where the Staples had occupied. We are currently under renovations. I was just in there today. They're grinding the floors down so we can get them nice and level for some pickleball courts. We're going to have six pickleball courts and 3 golf simulators, as well as a private lounge area with a karaoke room, as well as a couple of other lounge areas to sit. And we're really trying to create an environment where we are a destination, a dynamic entertainment space for the North Shore, in particular Highland Park. There's definitely a niche, a need for that type of service in the North Shore, and certainly Highland Park lends itself to that in terms of the demand. I mentioned who we are. We are Highland Park residents. We know this more than anyone. My wife and I moved up here 7 years ago from the city, and we love it up here. But there could be a little bit more to do after 5 or 6 p.m. And my in-laws have been in here over 45 years. So we have over 100 years of history with Highland Park in our family. We run businesses here, and this is another one we want to invest. We love Highland Park. We want it to be a great place, and heard y'all talking about making it even greater. That's what we're trying to do as well. In order to do that, however, we're going to need a little bit of help with this liquor license. Got into that.
Do we advance this?
Yeah. All right. Got into that. So here's the layout of the space. It's 23,000 square feet. As you can see, we have six pickleball courts. We've got 2 golf bays up in the front, and then we've got 1 in the very back. If you look at the upper corner, there's a meeting and karaoke room. Just below that is a lounge area. And then if you look to the left where that yellow box is, that's where we envision having the pour wall and our grab-and-go food area. We'll also supplement with food truck service. So we will have full food service as an and so the alcohol can be an accessory or ancillary to the food. Most importantly is we're not trying to be a bar. We're a social club. We're a membership-based club. We anticipate people coming to enjoy playing pickleball, playing golf, socializing, and hanging out and relaxing, giving people a place to come play and stay. And the pour wall is a key part of that. Not only does it allow us to serve alcoholic beverage, but it's actually liquid agnostic. I have William here from the Pour My Beer organization. They're who we've been working with on designing this pour tower. But we intend to have a curated selection of beer, wine, ciders, specialty mixed cocktails, as well as some non-alcoholic beverages as well. Again, we want to make this available for our clientele if they want it. It's an amenity, but we are a sports and entertainment facility first and foremost. In order to ensure that we are being compliant with the law and maintaining safety measures, which I know is what your biggest concern is, this is a pretty complicated, a pretty sophisticated system with some rigor around their processes and the access control to prevent overconsumption and, more importantly, underage consumption. William can speak to some of that more in detail. He has a lot more experience with these venues than I do, but the process is fairly straightforward. When someone would walk into the facility, we would be checking their ID and taking payment from a form of payment from them. That ID and that payment would be connected to a separate card that they would be issued, and that card would be like a room key in like a hotel. You would use that to access the pour wall. There are preset limits that we would determine as to how much someone can access from the pour wall before it cuts off. And what that does is it ensures that someone couldn't be overserved. And if they want to be served more, or there's another drink that they'd like to have, then they would need to be vetted by one of our staff members, all of whom will be Bassett trained and trained in alcohol awareness. So the requirements and the expectations for us are identical to what they would be for a traditional bar, with a few extra hurdles and a few extra steps to make it safer. We will be able to track sale by the ounce. We also have CCTV set up so that we would be able to monitor and make sure that we're being compliant. And if by chance there were any issues, we'd have the ability to investigate it and address it right away. William can speak to some of the experience that some of these other facilities have had. I believe there's over 500 in use in the United States, and there's a couple dozen at least here in Illinois. And as of last conversation there, that William has spoken to me about it, and I think Gita just mentioned it, that the local areas, there haven't been any issues with underage consumption or overconsumption in any way. So we are vigilant about this, and this is a key part of our business model, though. not only from dispensing alcohol, but more importantly, from operational perspective, it allows us to really leverage our personnel and our staff to be more customer-centric and focus on those things as opposed to spending time behind a bar making drinks. And the payroll is expensive these days. So if we can minimize the number of hands we have working on the drink side of things and focus on our engagement and creating a unique experience for our customers, I think that's going to be a lot better for us and a lot better for Highland Park. Here's a couple of examples of some pour walls that are already up, because I know when you hear the term self-service, I know I went to college in the 90s. You think self-service, you think of a keg party in a field. There's no kegs, there's no common source. This was all monitored and maintained by our staff when it's built. And we will have our staff being mindful and watching out for who's accessing the pour wall. By virtue of the fact that we're going to see every ID that comes in, we'll know who should be in there, who shouldn't be in there. In addition, if you aren't 21, you won't be getting a card to access the pour wall. So that's another way for us to prevent access. And then again, getting into the staff reauthorization part. So ultimately, what we're looking for here is to provide you the information that you need to render a decision on this. I appreciate the support that the city staff has given us over the last several weeks and months. We've been talking this almost 2 years now. And so we finally found a space, and now we're making something happen. I think this could be really big for Highland Park, really big for us. And we'd be the first in the North Shore to have something like this. I think it'd be quite a feather in our cap as a town to do something that no one else has done yet. Christine, did I forget anything? Because I usually do.
No, you actually did an awesome job. Thank you, David. The only thing I'd like to add is that the buzz has already been created about this. We just went live with social media about 3 weeks ago, and we have over 900 followers. NBC News did a story on us. Crane Chicago did, and then a number of real estate rags did stories on us as well. So we're out there, we're getting really good feedback from people. They're helping to shape the experience for us too, I think.
Great.
Thank you. And also, just to give you some context, there are some preset pour limits that we can set. Now, these were determined, or not determined, but they're recommended by the state of Illinois based on best practices that other facilities have been using. We're more than happy to use this, or if there's some dialogue we need to have about those limits, we're happy to do that as well. But we're fully committed to making sure that we provide a safe place for people for citizens in Highland Park and our members to come enjoy themselves safely and responsibly, and then they can get home safely and come back the next day. Do it again.
Wonderful. Thank you. So appreciate you coming and sharing, and obviously public safety is a concern that we all share. So want to share our appreciation with you for coming in and giving us sort of this extra explanation and understanding where our concerns come from, given how we've standardized things, and now here you are pushing the envelope, and we love it. So thank you very much for bringing it to Highland Park. Did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
And you have your hand up. And you have your hand up.
First of all, thank you for considering Highland Park to locate this in. I know you live here, but it's obviously a business decision, and it's an interesting, exciting opportunity, and looking forward to seeing how well it works out.
Thank you.
My understanding from your comments is that you are flexible in terms of setting cutoff limits in terms of how much somebody's initial purchase would permit them to access before having to review that with the Bassett trained personnel.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And we'd have to balance that with also making sure we're not inconveniencing our customers. If it becomes problem, if it's a pain in the butt for them to do it, they're not going to want to come back. So, but if we can find that right sweet spot, absolutely.
Right. With respect to the issue concerning minor consumption, I understand the ability to card and regulate who makes the purchase, but you're going to have minors in the facility, I hope, using the pickleball and other non-alcoholic amenities.
Yes.
How are you going to regulate access through somebody who has permitted access, subsequently distributing that to a minor? How does that work?
I I would say it would work the same way it does now in a traditional bar environment. Once you find, if you do everything you can to prevent it, these rules and these guidelines and this training, the Bassett training, the alcohol awareness training is mandated for a reason. We would be vigilant with our staff, but we're going to trust them to do their job as well and hold them accountable if they don't, because ultimately we're accountable for that. The limitations will help because if someone were by chance to get access to a card they shouldn't, there's only so much they can use before it doesn't work anymore. Then they got to re-up anyway. And because we're tracking by the ounce, we have CCTV, we have our staff who is looking at every ID. Chances are, if someone is there and they shouldn't be, we're going to figure that out pretty quickly and they're going to get out. And it's a small space. It's not that big. But it's a very good question and it's a concern, but we are prepared for that and we will.
Sounds like you've obviously thought about that.
We've thought a lot about that.
I appreciate that. With respect to food service, you mentioned that's going to be by food truck rather than directly on site.
Yes.
Is that something that was initially considered as a part of the proposed plan?
I'm sorry, we will have food on site as well.
Oh, you will have that as well?
We'll have a case of a grab-and-go case with fresh prepared offerings from local vendors. And we'll supplement that with food trucks. So
Terrific.
yes, there will be food on
Well,
site.
that sounds great.
The entire time. Yes.
Okay, I'll be there. Thank you.
I was going to say, planning
Good
your
food,
birthday
too.
party then.
Yes. I don't play pickleball. You probably would.
Thank you. Councilmember Stone.
Thanks. This is a really creative concept. Thank you for bringing it to us. I've got one question for you. You said that the machines were drink agnostic.
Yes.
So if you do put something non-alcoholic in them, how do you make sure that somebody who's underage who goes in there for a non-alcoholic beverage doesn't?
So we would have either separate cards and maybe different colors. So maybe a red card, and I'm just using that as an example for the non-alcoholic stuff, and then a different colored card for the alcoholic stuff. Or
I want to explain there's a card reader for each.
yeah, and each item has a screen, so you would scan it. So if you go to scan something and you're not old enough, it's not going to let you dispense it, and it's not going to let you charge it. And a second level of protection is the point of sale system that we would be using can integrate with this system as well and prevent people from even ordering something that they're not old enough to order yet.
Okay, so each individual spigot only has one beverage in it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and you've got to scan that spigot to get something out of there?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Tapia.
Yeah, I just want to express my enthusiasm for this very creative idea and you're choosing Highland Park to invest in our city. And you know, we know we need more nighttime activities as well as daytime activities. So thank you for stepping in to do something in such a creative way. I feel satisfied with the safeguards that you've described around the consumption. So it's very well thought out, and I appreciate all those great questions that my colleagues have made. It's a little bit sidestep, but I just want to get the bigger picture of your concept, even though we're just voting on the liquor part of it. I'm just trying to picture the environment. Like you talk about membership, but they also talk about people paying to go in. Do you have to be a member? Is it a monthly thing? Is it you pay as you go? Or?
It's a membership-based club. You don't have to be a member to pay, but you do have to make a reservation and you don't have to be a member to make a reservation, but you do, if as a member, you would get priority access, you would get a larger window to book courts in. You'd also get maybe more competitive or better or lower pricing based on being a member, but you don't have to be a member to utilize the club.
Yeah, and then just one follow-up.
Yes.
What is your hope for when you envision the age mix in this group? Is it like geared toward families? Is it geared toward single people? Is it mixed to everybody? Like what kind of environment are you hoping to create there?
We want to be an inclusive environment where everybody feels welcome to come. So there is going to be programming available for adults, couples, young people. There will be kids clinics and programming as well. I would envision on a Saturday afternoon in gray, gloomy February that we might have a bunch of people in there with their kids, maybe some dads in the golf simulators, and maybe the kids on playing pickleball with each other, and then the other parent, the mom or whomever, having a brunch, having a mimosa, and watching her family enjoy themselves on a Saturday afternoon. And hopefully the Bears get it together and so we don't have to drown our sorrows. So,
All right,
it's
thank
going to
you
be a
very
long
much.
winter if the Bears keep playing this way.
Yeah, thank
Lots
you.
of pickleball instead.
Yeah, plenty.
Councilmember Brockman?
First off, thank you very much. I'm very excited for this pickleball club, as I'm one that plays pickleball with friends, and it's something that we love to do. And with a 6-year-old that's learning pickleball in gym class right now, so he'll be coming with me. I just had one quick question, and I mean everything you described. I mean, it seems like you've really thought out all the safety measures. So I'm thrilled for this to be coming to Highland Park. So one question I had was, is there a set ratio in terms of like how many people could use the pour wall in terms of having like, do you need one staff member, or is there a certain number, a breakdown for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll defer to William on that since it's his business. They might have some.
Hi, I'm William Metropolis, Territory Director for Pour My Bev. So the wall, when you saw the picture of the wall, it spreads. How many taps are you going to use?
30.
So it'll be a 10 screen, 30 tap. So there's 30 taps on the wall, 3 taps per screen. So it would be 3 different brands on there. So one person can you can have 10 people at the same time. What you're talking about is one person watching that wall, which is a wall ambassador. So they're the Bassett trained. They're going to be monitoring, looking. And David and the crew are going to have wristbands showing that you're 21. The underage would have a different colored card. They would be only able to pour what, kombucha, I think, is non-alcoholic. Sodas, craft sodas, whatever they put on there like that. So we have 500 locations across the U.S., as you mentioned. Pickleball is now, and I am seeing what this is doing. So Highland Park, you guys are really lucky that this family here decided to put it here, because it will draw a community together faster than you will see anything happen. It's amazing. Right now I have 24 pickleball facilities like this in the Midwest alone. That's going to grow by 30 more just in Ohio. Michigan has got over 15 already. Communities really want this because of all the excitement that you guys see now. It builds a community, and it's not a bar. These places are more, this wall, it does help with revenue and everything else, but you're not going to the bar. You're going there to have the camaraderie, and you'll taste different things on the wall. Because you can do it at an ounce at a time, you're going to try a wine, you might try an IPA. You're not getting there to just, in the old typical traditional bar. That's not what these are. So you won't ever see that. We have not seen it in 500 locations. So I think you're fortunate, you're lucky, and he's really done well in getting this together the right way, like a lot of our pickleball locations have. So, thank you. Yeah. I hope that answered what you were looking for.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Littleworth.
Okay, I have several questions and comments, so I hope you'll put up with me because they're not necessarily in order, and I apologize for that. First of all, I want to thank you for a phenomenal presentation, because I'm very excited about this from the economic development potential of it for our town, for you as a business, small business owner, for you coming in here and kind of giving us a shot in the arm or a pull on or whatever to make sure that we all really reinvigorate Highland Park. And the fact that you're sort of, you're near the highway, it kind of brings a different area, people to that area, and then they can just go east to go downtown, and there's different areas in which they can do it. So I'm really excited about that. You are completely right about the nighttime activity. Hopefully someone, they have a light dinner and they go play, or they play early and then they go to dinner downtown Highland Park, with 2nd Street being completely revamped. Hopefully we'll have lots of restaurants for them to go to at night. So I'm very excited about all of that. I really hope you will consider working with the city with regard to limits on the amounts of liquor in terms of that, because frankly, and I say this as someone who really loves wine, but if you look at a bottle of wine and you have a 4-ounce glass and it's a 16-ounce max, 4 glasses of wine after a half an hour of pickle, and you'd have to pick me up from the courts. So those limits, I know they're set by the state, but frankly, I think they're a little bit high. And so that's one of the things. I also would love it if you would consider about the bracelets versus cards, different color bracelets, because I think when someone puts something on your wrist after pickleball, so that you can still move around, the point is that it's more noticeable. A card is much easier to give to a 20-year-old versus a bracelet that's on someone's wrist. So there are a couple of things that I'm really glad to hear. I believe you're open to working with us on doing it so that we can maximize any problems or safety or whatever for those that are underage. And that brings me to my next point. I completely support this, and I will vote in favor of this. However, this is such a turn of events in the way that we've handled things, especially that have had to do with Section 119, which is our liquor license code, because I would have liked to see this taken a little more time, getting the full research on it, not on the materials you gave us, because I think you gave us a complete thing. But I'm very grateful, for example, that 3 towns are represented where we do have poor facilities, or that we're the first ones on the North Shore. I'd like to know what other towns there are. I'd like to know more of the history of this. There are other things that I would have liked us to have better research on, and if you have some of that, that would help me.
There are 27 facilities in Illinois. If you'd
Okay.
like, I'd be happy to share this.
You're
with you.
welcome to visit them all.
We take a field trip, we'll all go together.
No, that's just fine.
One thing I do want to say, just so you understand it, the wine that you're talking about or the cocktail, so there's categories. The card knows what it's pouring. So if it's a beer, everything is 2 servings before it gets rechecked. So the customer comes up and he might have 16 ounces of beer in different tastes, and then 6 ounces of wine. A serving of wine is 6 ounces, and it can be 4, whatever you guys deem you want a serving to be. So 2 servings of wine is typically 12, cocktail is 12, beer is 32.
Right.
So you wouldn't want 32 ounces of wine. So it knows that when it pours out of that thing. So everything is 2 servings. When you hit your limit on anything, a little thing will come up on that screen. It'll say, hey, you're awesome. Please see our wall ambassador to reactivate. And that's where you're checking. So this is the most policed bar in the world because you're checking sobriety really physically every 2 servings.
And the people who are BASA trained who will be supervising the part that is not manual, those are the people we can hold accountable ultimately, if God forbid there were violations or it wasn't being enforced or however it is.
Yes.
So we still have our safeguard measures. All I'm saying is this went very quickly. We did not end up having our liquor license commission meeting. We did not go through some things in which we have had multiple times where we've researched things. And frankly, may I just ask, are all 4 of you Highland Park residents?
We are.
So I just want you to know that's 4 more people who cannot run for elected office in the state right now, in this town right now.
I'm not from here, so I might run next year.
No, you have to move in. But in any event, okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Councilmember Stone and then Councilmember Bloomberg.
I'd like to move to approve these 2 items.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Am I allowed to also speak?
Of course. Come on up.
Especially now there's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion, there's a second. Come on up.
Okay.
And Councilmember Bloomberg also wanted to speak, so he'll go after you.
I assumed that we had to speak before council, but I didn't know.
It's okay. Whatever. It's all good.
Okay. Like everyone else has said, from an economic standpoint, I think it's an awesome idea. It's a great new.
Please state your name for the record.
Erwin Bernstein.
Thank you.
I encourage the business. I encourage the thoughts. I'm confused about the speed that this is being done. I heard a lot of questions or a lot of issues, and the answer to all these issues was, good question, we're going to deal with that. But it's going to be dealt with without the control of the Liquor Commission, because once the variance is passed, it's voluntary. I want to read something that I found. Despite what you may have heard, self-pour technology is a great way to enhance the customer experience. Guests love that they can pour their favorite beverages themselves, and they get hooked on the fun experience. The automated solution is a no-brainer for operators. See increased profits, high efficiency, reduced waste. A process that used to take 10 minutes now takes under 30 seconds. Self-pour beverage walls have made operators more efficient because guests can now drink at their own pace. No need to wait for a bartender. Patrons can drink more in a shorter period. This is from Pour My Walls website. I really think that the Liquor Commission needs to review this before passing it.
Thank you. Corporation Counsel or City
Mayor,
Manager?
I can address it. So just certainly, as the council will recall, in 2023 in our major projects work plan, we identified that we would review this specific code chapter, and staff did a significant amount of research. We talked as a team, certainly with our police department. We communicated and got research from other municipalities in terms of potential changes that we would make for the city's municipal code. In April of this year, the city council voted a number of changes to this chapter. And in working with Mr. Sloan and the team at Dinks, we thought those changes from April would address his business plan. And so again, as he indicated, he's been working for 2 years on this proposed site and this proposed business plan. But in just being super careful and reading the exact terminology of our code, we wanted to bring forward this proposed change so it's crystal clear, because the service is technically not done by the Bassett-trained individual, it is done by the customer. So that's why we are creating a new classification just to belt and suspender and make sure we are crystal clear of how this program works. So I certainly appreciate the concern, but I guess it definitely was not rushed. And there was thorough research. Other municipalities that we had contacted are reflected in the staff report. And then again, as indicated, we've talked to their team, and the significant amount of research that they've done really nationwide helped inform us in putting this information together for you. So the Liquor Control Commission, it's not atypical that these considerations would come straight to the City Council. In fact, all the changes that were presented to you in April went straight to the City Council from a committee of the whole. We didn't go to the Liquor Control Commission. And in looking at this specific license, what we would do is continue to work with the applicant. Staff documents a number of recommendations specific to the applicant, and then we review them with the mayor, who's the Liquor Control Commissioner, and then those are restrictions that may be above and beyond what is set forth in the code. So right now, what the ordinance that is before you this evening for consideration really has just 2 stipulations. One is they have to sell and sell food, and liquor has to be consumed on the premises. Anything that you want to do above and beyond that would be a recommendation with our staff to the mayor's Liquor Control Commissioner, and we'll certainly follow up with the entire council and just let you know what those restrictions are based on your feedback this evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So just to reiterate, this has already been highly and heavily researched and had a lot of conversation. There was a comprehensive review of all of these questions, and then in an effort to just sort of belt and suspender, we are following up with a second conversation, but this was all discussed already in April. And what's even more important, we as a council feel so strongly about bringing new businesses in and stimulating new business in this community. And we have people who are stakeholders, not only as residents, but now as business holders, who want to open a new business here. I think it's incumbent upon us to move as quickly as possible and not to drag our feet for political reasons. Councilmember Stone.
Yeah, I just want to clarify what my motion is, that my motion is to approve certain changes to Chapter 119 that are detailed in the packet. It has nothing to do with actually approving a liquor license to this applicant. So they would still have to go through that process. And anything that needs to be worked out in any more detail will happen during that part of the process.
And
So this is just to enable them to even apply.
Right, thank you. So with that, we have a motion. Do you, yeah?
Yeah, before Mr. Bernstein spoke, I wanted to address what you've touched on and what Councilmember Stone has also touched on. All we're approving tonight is a certain kind of liquor license. This is, I agree with the issues you raised, Mr. Bernstein. I would like the Liquor Control Commission to look at the specific regulations for businesses that operate with this license. For instance, and I'm not sure whether we can do that, and I'm concerned. We're creating a class of liquor license, which this business model would fit into, and I'm comfortable with that, and I think we've got adequate information to do that, going back to April and the discussions that we've had. But there were discussions that were raised tonight that I think were answered well, but bear examining, which is how much are we going to allow as a portion or multiple portions, and is the city going to have any opportunity to regulate that for a particular business?
And I think it's important to note that we don't regulate that for any other business.
I understand that.
As far as I understand.
And that's my concern, because this is, in this business, although you have a Bassett-trained person watching the distribution to people with these wristbands, it's not the same as a bartender. It's where every time you go to get a drink, you have to order the drink, and the bartender has an opportunity to look at you and hear you. And that addresses overserved issues. This is somewhat unique. I have no problem granting the license, and I'm going to vote in favor of both parts of the motion that are before us today. But I am concerned about the fact that the customer is the one serving themselves, and how or should we regulate, as apparently the state may, the portions that one can serve oneself before having to go ask for a, quote, re-up or refill of their wristband or their card. We don't have to answer that tonight, but that's a separate issue as I understand it.
So-
Is that what you're asking?
You could answer it. There's two ways to address this. You are, as Councilmember Stone correctly said, the motion on the floor is to approve an ordinance that adds this new liquor license to your municipal code and the associated fee. That's the resolution part. The next step would be the consideration of issuing a license pursuant to that enabling ordinance. That is in the sole purview of the Liquor Control Commissioner. It is not. The Liquor Control Commission is not involved in issuing licenses in Highland Park. It is the Liquor Control Commission. You could, therefore, you could tonight direct the Liquor Control Commissioner, who happens to be the mayor by state law, you can direct her to include conditions on the license concerning the amount of the serve, or you could amend the ordinance that further amend the ordinance that's on your agenda tonight to have a condition that the Liquor Control Commissioner must address the amount of the pour, the size of the serve, when the Liquor Control Commissioner issues a license pursuant to this new ordinance.
We could make those amendments at a later meeting as well, correct?
You can, yes.
When we would have an opportunity to have more information, perhaps the Liquor Control Commission obtain more information from the applicant and the public.
Right, to my knowledge, there's not, there isn't an application because there isn't a license.
Sure.
You could, I do know that, well, you know the timing better than I do, Manager Newkirk.
So I guess just in terms of, again, because construction's underway, they're hoping to be done in the spring or in the winter. So I guess what my suggestion would be is if the council is comfortable with the license, then approve the license this evening, which at least communicates back to the business that they can move forward with a pour wall concept. The specific details we can bring back to, again, the full city council, or people can communicate to the mayors of the control commissioner. We can move that forward however you want. Generally, what would happen is we would just work with the mayors of liquor control commissioner and identify a number of regulations that we are recommending as staff, and certainly individual council members can do that too, or we could bring it back to this full group.
I would be okay with that.
Okay.
Councilmember Littleworth?
So Corporation Counsel, could you just clarify for me, because I didn't quite understand when Councilmember Blumberg asked it. Are you saying that it is the purview of the Liquor License Commission to do the additional restrictions or regulations, or it is the council?
Commissioner.
I said that the commission is not involved in the issuance of license, only the commissioner. The council is the one that creates the license in the first place.
But once the license is created, if we wanted additional restrictions, like to change the amount or the bracelet or whatever it is we wanted to
You
add
could
on
make a recommendation
the council to the
to the commissioner.
Right. That could be a
That is
condition of
correct.
the license.
One last question. There are currently state regulations on how much can be purchased without,
That's what they based their
that's what I understand.
amounts
Okay.
on.
But then the other
But you could
reason
be
I-
stricter than the state.
The reason I wanted to ask the question about making the recommendation to the commissioner is because I would want to see this as a standardized process. I'm not saying we're going to have a second pour wall, thank you, pour wall in Highland Park, but were we to do so, I would want them to be under the same restrictions.
It would be standardized.
That's my question. It would be standardized by the
There
commissioner.
would be no reason to have it be, you get this, you
Right,
get
well,
that.
that's what I'm
That's
asking.
not how we operate.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but I just want to ensure that publicly that is stated that those processes are the same.
Right.
So let me, if I can make a suggestion, that we pass the ordinance tonight and see how it goes. I think the applicant has demonstrated a great deal of organization and knowledge of the limitations and how they operate. And then if there's a problem, it's something that we could address if it becomes a problem, rather than trying to fix something that may not be a problem yet.
If there is a violation, it would
Since there's-
definitely go before the commission. Yeah.
Yes, and since there's already a state regulation as to
Licenses
amounts.
are only 1 year in
At a time.
Okay, so I'm comfortable with that.
Actually, I'm really glad you said that about the 1 year at a time, because as much as I'm glad that the great state of Illinois has given us some upward limits, I would like to see this reviewed in a year to determine if we want to change those limits. And that's the way I would be comfortable with it, because I don't feel we have fully vetted or looked at those limits. We're relying on the state, which isn't bad, but in many cases, we might, decide to carve it out slightly differently. And
So
I'd just like to
are
see
you
it
then
reviewed.
saying that you would have those limits apply to anybody distributing liquor in this city? Because
No,
if you're
under
going to
this permit.
one, but how can you have one be limited, but other bars and bartenders not be limited?
Well, I guess that's part of the question. I wasn't aware that it would apply to others, and if it does, then it's something we need to look at further.
Okay, so with that, I think we have a motion, we have a second. Let's take the vote, please, if the clerk could please call the vote.
Councilmember Brockman?
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia?
Aye.
Councilmember Littleworth?
Aye, but not happy.
Councilmember Stone?
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
Aye.
Mayor Rotering?
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. Thank you so much for bringing this creative idea, and we appreciate you bringing your business to Highland Park. Thank you so much. And with that, we have no closed session, so I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.